Dear loving God,
Kære elskende Gud,
we thank you for this opportunity to come before your throne of grace
takker dig for den her mulighed for at komme foran din nådes trone,
to invite you to be present among us,
for at invitere dig til at være til stede blandt os,
to fellowship with us,
for at være sammen med os,
and to teach us the truth for this time.
og for at lære os sandheden for denne tid.
We pray that you would speak through Elder Parminder,
Vi beder, at du må tale gennem Elder Parminder,
and that you would help us to learn and grow.
og du må lære os til at lære og vokse.
We invite your Holy Spirit to take over.
Vi inviterer din Helligånd til at tage over.
In Jesus' name,
I
amen.
Jesu navn. Amen.
Thank you. I hand over to Elder Parminder.
Tak. Jeg overgiver den til Elder Parminder.
Can you hear me okay? Welcome back, everybody.
Velkommen tilbage alle sammen.
So I had some follow-up questions after our last meeting.
Jeg havde nogle opfølgende spørgsmål efter vores sidste møde.
As you'll recall, we discussed the subject of the Nethinims,
Som I husker, så diskuterede vi tempeltrællene.
there was a question on Panium,
Der var et spørgsmål i forhold til Panium.
received another question about the vows.
Jeg har modtaget endnu et spørgsmål i forhold til dåbsløfterne.
So it's a fairly common question, which goes like this.
Det er et ret hyppigt spørgsmål, som lyder sådan her.
Will the vows be changed, modified?
Vil dåbsløfterne blive ændret eller modificeret?
So the simple answer is yes.
Så det simple svar, det er ja.
And because this is such a sensitive issue,
Og fordi det er sådan et følsomt emne,
I've been delaying doing that work until Elder Tess came back to work.
så har jeg udsat det arbejde indtil at Elder Tess kom tilbage til at gøre det arbejde.
But even now, we've begun to examine at least a few of the vows.
Men selv nu er vi allerede gået i gang med at undersøge nogle af dåbsløfterne.
So someone's asked a question specifically about two vows.
Så personen stillede spørgsmålet i forhold til to specifikke dåbsløfter.
First one is dealing with vow number 2.
Den første har med dåbsløfte nummer 2 at gøre.
And vow number 2 says the following.
Og dåbsløfte nummer 2 siger følgende.
Do you believe basically in Jesus?
Tror du dybest set på Jesus?
Do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God?
Tror du, at Jesus er Guds søn?
There are 3 bullet points.
Der er 3 bullet points til det her.
And it's dealing with the second and third.
Og det har at gøre med det andet og det tredje spørgsmålet.
Second says, have you accepted him?
Det andet bullet point siger, har du accepteret ham?
Do you accept the salvation that he offers?
Accepterer du frelsen, som han tilbyder?
His grace?
Hans nåde?
And then in the final bullet point, it says, will you invite him into your heart?
Og det sidste bullet point, det siger, vil du invitere ham ind i dit hjerte?
So the question is about those masculine pronouns.
Så spørgsmålet vedrører de her maskuline pronomener.
So I guess we should all at least understand, if we, even if we're not comfortable with the question. and why it's being asked.
Så jeg tænker, at vi bør forstå spørgsmålet, og hvorfor det bliver stillet, også selvom det gør os ukomfortable.
Because we have taught, and when I say we, Elder Tess and I, and there have been several presentations in the public domain that address this issue.
For vi har undervist i, og med vi, som mener jeg til sig, vi har undervist flere gange i emnet, der adresserer det her emne, og det er offentligt tilgængeligt.
Most, if not all, have centered around the member of the Godhead that we normally call the Father.
De fleste af de her studier har centreret sig omkring Gud, som vi normalt kalder faderen, eller den her entitet i
I
Guds
think that
enigheden.
subject has been examined and discussed fairly thoroughly.
Jeg vil mene, at det emne er blevet eksamineret og undersøgt tilpas grundigt.
And I expect by now that there's broad consensus that we should stop using a male pronoun and the word father for that member of the Godhead.
Og jeg tænker, at der efterhånden skal være bred enighed, og er bred enighed om, at vi skal holde op med at bruge det maskuline pronomen og omtale Gud som faderen.
When it comes to the work of Jesus,
Når det kommer til Guds arbejde og gerning, eller Jesus gerning og
as
arbejde,
you all know,
som I alle ved,
if you've kept up with the studies, the earlier studies of this movement,
hvis I har fulgt med i den her bevægelses tidlige studier,
or if you've got a background in studying Jones and Wagner's material,
eller hvis man har erfaring med at studere Jones og Wagners,
then you know that the humanity of Jesus, in the words of Ellen White, paraphrased,
så ved I, at Jesus menneskelighed, genfortalt gennem Ellen Whites øjne,
means everything to us.
betyder alt for os.
There are so many aspects about Christ's humanity that are central to the plan of salvation.
Der er så mange aspekter af Jesus menneskelighed, der er centrale i frelseplanen.
And one that comes to my mind immediately
Og en af dem, som straks kommer til
is
mig,
taken from the book Christ Object Lessons.
er taget fra bogen Kristi lignelseslære, eller Christ Object Lessons.
And I think it's the introductory chapters to that book.
Og jeg tror, at det er de allerførste introducerende kapitler i den bog.
And that study
Og det studie
examines the theology
undersøger teologien
of the parabolic nature of Christ's advent.
af Kristus advents lignelseslære, eller lignelsesmæssig natur.
And the necessity of that from a parabolic modeling perspective.
Og nødvendigheden af det i et lignelseslære perspektiv.
We all know, I hope,
Vi ved alle, håber jeg,
that for juxtapositioning or parable methodologies to work properly,
at for at juxtapositionering eller at lignelseslæres metodikken kan fungere ordentligt,
what do you need to do?
hvad har man så brug for at gøre?
So that's a question, my friends here. What do you,
Så det er
how do
spørgsmål,
you get
ja,
juxtapositioning and parabolic methodologies to work? What's the premise that it's built upon?
hvordan får man lignelseslære metodikken og juxtapositionering til at fungere? Hvad er præmissen for det?
Anyone? Yeah, anyone else?
Er der nogen andre?
Speak louder.
Ja.
A little bit more. Someone said bringing things together. Yes, but there's a little bit more to that.
Der er en, der sagde, bringe tingene tæt sammen, men der er lidt mere til det.
What's it good? Melania?
Yes, I meant bringing things together, then you compare and contrast with the world.
Okay, so the point is that you have to force things together
Pointen er, at man er nødt til at tvinge elementer og ting sammen,
that don't belong together.
som ellers ikke hører til sammen.
Is that what you're going to say or something more? Okay, so in our group, we're all in agreement now that juxtaposition or parabolic teaching is bringing things together, close together, that don't naturally fit.
Så i vores gruppe her er vi enige om, at lignelseslære bygger på den her idé om at bringe ting sammen, som ellers ikke naturligt hænger sammen.
So when you think where Jesus, we'll say, used to live,
Så når vi tænker på, hvor Jesus han plejede at bo,
and what the rules of parable methodology teach you,
og hvad reglerne for lignelseslære lærer
when
en,
you have heard people claiming to use parables,
når man har hørt andre folk, der hævder at bruge lignelser,
what mistake do they use or make? Sorry, what mistake did they make? I'm going to say all the time.
hvilken fejl laver de så gang på gang?
Anyone? No, something specific.
Er noget specifikt?
So what they do,
Så det, som de gør,
if we want to understand something,
hvis vi gerne vil forstå noget,
you have to use a parable to do that. We all agree.
så er man nødt til at bruge en lignelse til at gøre det. Det er vi alle enige om.
And what is it that we actually want to understand?
Og hvad er det, som vi egentlig gerne vil forstå?
What's the point of the exercise?
Hvad er pointen med øvelsen?
To understand what?
At forstå hvad?
We want to understand the spiritual.
Vi vil gerne forstå det åndelige.
And what's the mistake that people make?
Og hvad er fejlen, som folk de begår?
So the mistake that people make
Så den fejl, som folk de begår,
is that they take a spiritual model and juxtapose that with a literal model.
det er, at de tager en åndelig model, og de juxtapositionerer den med en bogstavelig model,
Thinking that they can come to an understanding of what we will just call the spiritual.
og så tror de, at de kan komme til en bedre forståelse af det, som vi kan kalde det åndelige.
And Ellen White, in her own inimitable style,
Og Ellen White på sin egen særlige måde og stil,
in that book, Christ Object Lessons,
den bog Kristi lignelseslære, eller Christ Object Lessons,
shows you that you can't do that.
der viser hun, at man kan ikke gøre det.
So we want to understand, Simba, what's going on in heaven.
Så vi vil gerne simpelthen forstå, hvad der foregår i himlen.
How do we do that?
Hvordan gør vi det?
How does God explain that to us? What will God have to do?
Hvordan forklarer Gud det til os? Hvad skal han gøre? Eller hvad skal Gud gøre?
We need to understand the natural things first.
If we need to understand the natural things first,
Hvis vi er nødt til at forstå de naturlige ting først,
how's that going to work? What does God have to do?
hvordan vil det så fungere? Hvad skal Gud gøre?
I think God is going to use the things that we are familiar with.
So God's going to use the things that we're familiar with.
Så Gud vil bruge de ting, som vi er bekendte med.
I'm going to stop you there because
Jeg vil
we're
stoppe
going
dig,
down the path that I don't think we're going to get to the answer I want.
for vi er ved at gå ned ad en sti, som jeg ikke tror vil føre os til det svar, som jeg gerne vil have frem.
Anyone else?
Er der nogen andre?
Give you something natural.
So God has to, what did you say?
Get something.
God has to take something and that's not, I'm going to say there where you are, and bring it down close to the thing.
Så Gud er nødt til at tage noget, som er fjern fra der, hvor du er, og bringe det tæt på
And what's that thing that God's going to transfer or move?
Og hvad er den ting, som Gud han vil flytte?
If you don't know, that's fine.
I don't know.
Så ved det så ikke.
Jesus.
Jesus.
So if you want to understand the plan of salvation, which is a heavenly spiritual thing,
Så hvis du gerne vil forstå et frelseplan, som er en himmelsk ting,
Jesus has to come to earth to explain it.
så er Jesus nødt til at komme fysisk ned til jorden for at forklare
And
det.
this is the problem with vow number 2,
Og det er problemet med dåbsløfte nummer 2.
because part of this issue, this problem,
For en del af det her problem,
is that the God in heaven,
det er, at Guden i
when
himlen,
that God comes down to earth,
når den Gud kommer ned til jorden,
that God has to do what? Or
That's good.
become what?
så skal den Gud gøre hvad? Eller blive til hvad?
Has to become a human.
Så er Gud nødt til at blive et menneske.
And without getting into complexity, the choice they're going to have
Og uden at gøre det super komplekst, så er valget, som Gud har,
is to become a man or a woman.
det er at blive en mand eller en kvinde.
Simply put, without making any complex arguments about that.
Sådan for at forsimple det, uden at lave for mange komplekse argumenter. For simpelt sagt.
All of our theology is built on the premise that God has to become human.
Al vores teologi bygger på præmissen om, at Gud skal blive til et menneske. Eller skulle blive til et menneske.
And without getting technical about the terminology and being gender neutral or gender inclusive,
Og uden at vikle os ind i terminologien, eller om at være kønsinklusiv, eller kønsneutral,
gender neutral or gender inclusive,
kønsneutral eller kønsinklusiv.
when God does that work, God will have to become a man or a woman.
Når Gud gør den gerning, eller gør det her, så er Gud nødt til at blive mand.
Without getting into the mind of God
Og uden at gå ind i Guds sind,
and how the plan of salvation has played out,
og hvordan frelseplanen har udfoldet sig og udspillet sig,
it seems to me 2000 years ago, there's not much choice.
så lader det til, at for 2000 år siden, så var der ikke særlig meget.
So God, I'm going to use the phrase, has to come as a man, not a woman.
Så jeg vil bruge udsagnet, at Gud var nødt til at komme som en mand, og ikke som en kvinde.
If we don't like the idea that God had to, we all agree that God did.
Hvis vi kan lide ideen eller tanken om, at Gud var nødsaget til, så accepterer vi alle, at Gud gjorde det.
And so the question is, if we deny Jesus's, if we want to call it Jesus's gender, because he had a job role, or Jesus's secondary sex characteristics, or his sexuality, however we want to phrase it, Jesus came as a man.
Så ligegyldigt, hvordan vi vil genfortælle, om vi kigger på Jesus køn, hans sekundære kønskarakteristika osv., så kommer han som en mand.
And I'm not sure whether we can deny that.
Og jeg er ikke sikker på, at vi kan benægte det.
So until someone gets some understanding on this, I'm not sure how vow number 2 will change.
Så indtil at nogen får noget forståelse på det her, så er jeg ikke sikker på, hvordan løfte nummer 2, dåbsløfte nummer 2 skal
I
ændres.
don't see this the same as calling God he or God the Father.
Jeg ser ikke det her på samme måde som det at kalde Gud for ham eller Gud faderen.
So I don't know if anybody's got a thought or a comment to this question.
Så jeg ved ikke, om der er nogen, der har en tanke eller en kommentar til det der spørgsmål?
No one?
Ingen?
Okay.
Okay.
So the next question was vowel number 20.
Næste spørgsmål, det var løfte nummer 20.
And what is vowel number 20?
Og hvad er løfte nummer 20?
Oh, no one knows in our group.
Og der er ingen, der ved det i vores gruppe.
The British failed. They don't want to speak.
I gør det ikke rigtigt.
Someone shout out, what is number 20?
Der er nogen, der kan råbe løfte nummer 20.
The cities, leaving the cities. It's one of the reform vows.
Og forlade byen.
So the question is,
Så spørgsmålet er,
is it still possible to leave the cities? That's the question. Does the vowel 20 need changing because we can't leave the cities now?
så spørgsmålet er, skal vi skifte løfte nummer 20, fordi vi kan ikke forlade byerne nu.
So I've got another question
Så jeg har et andet spørgsmål
from someone else.
fra en anden.
It doesn't deal with vowel 20,
Det handler ikke om løfte nummer 20,
but it says, can we buy a house in the city?
men det lyder på, kan vi købe hus i byen?
So you've got two people in the movement. One wants to leave and one wants to either go or stay.
Vi har to folk i bevægelsen. Den ene vil blive, den anden vil enten gå eller blive.
So I just found that interesting.
Det fandt jeg meget interessant.
So thankfully,
Så heldigvis,
I think the vowel as it's currently written meets the needs of both of those people.
så tror jeg, at løftet, som det står skrevet,
Meets the needs. It
så,
fulfills their.
så møder det begge parters behov.
I'm going to paraphrase vowel 20.
Jeg vil genfortælle løfte nummer 20.
It basically says, if you're able to, leave the city.
Så siger det vil sige, at hvis du er i stand til, så forlad byen.
And though it doesn't say explicitly,
Selvom den ikke siger det eksplicit,
I think there's an implied statement here
så vil jeg mene, at der er et indbygget udsagn her,
that if you do leave the city,
om at hvis du forlader byen,
don't choose to go to some silly place.
så lad være med at gå til et eller andet fjollet sted.
And we could all argue or discuss what silly means,
Vi kunne alle argumentere for, hvad fjollet betyder.
but Ellen White in the 19th century,
Men Ellen White i det 19. århundrede,
when she talks about country living,
når hun taler om det at leve på landet,
says we shouldn't go back to the 17th century.
så siger hun, at vi bør ikke gå tilbage til det 17. århundrede.
We should use we should buy washing machines and electrical blenders and things.
Vi bør bruge vores vaskemaskiner og elektriske blendere,
Whatever they had then.
hvad end de havde på det tidspunkt.
So she's not about leaving technology behind and going into the wilderness and living
Så hun taler ikke om at,
in a silly way.
om at efterlade teknologier og gå ind i vildmarken og alle de her ting på en fjollet måde.
So the question is it possible to leave the cities? It's still possible, but it's very difficult in most places, I think now.
Spørgsmålet er, kan man stadig forlade byerne, og det er blevet meget svært, der er svaret i de fleste tilfælde.
The vow doesn't condemn anybody who lives in the city.
Løftet fordømmer ikke nogen, der bliver i byen.
And the person who asked, is it wise to buy a house in the city?
Og personen, som spørger, er det klogt og fornuftigt at købe hus i byen?
Whether you agree or disagree,
Men du er enig eller uenig.
I don't mean about what I'm about to say, but the whole philosophy of buying property
Men ikke i forhold til det, jeg vil sige eller ikke vil sige, men generelt filosofien om at købe ejendom.
if you're trying to invest in something, I think it's reasonable to buy a house in the city as an investment.
Hvis du forsøger at investere i noget, så tænker jeg, at det er fornuftigt nok at købe en ejendom i byen som en investering.
I only say that because I wasn't clear about why the person would want to buy a house in the city.
Det siger jeg kun, fordi jeg ved ikke, hvorfor personen ønsker at købe et hus i byen.
Because there are three issues:
For der er tre problematikker.
city living,
Det er at bo i byen,
buying a property,
at købe en ejendom
and investing.
og investere.
And each one has its unique characteristics and are separate and distinct.
Og alle tre har sine egne karakteristika og er adskilt og unikke.
But I think the vow allows each of us latitude, license to live reasonable lives.
Jeg mener, at løftet giver os licens og tilladelse til at leve fornuftigt.
I don't think it's a sin to do investment, and I don't think it's wrong to buy a property.
Jeg mener ikke, at det er synd at investere, og ej heller at købe ejendom.
Is it good to leave the cities and go to a rural area? It's definitely good.
Er det godt at forlade byen og gå til et mere landligt sted?
Is it possible?
Sikkert.
Yes, but it's very difficult.
Men det er meget svært.
And do you have to? No.
Og er man nødt til det? Er man tvunget til det? Nej.
Anybody have any thoughts or questions?
Nogen, der har nogle tanker eller spørgsmål?
That person, that might be one of my business talks. Are you saying it's okay to live in the house that you invest in the city?
So, just to clarify,
Så for at opklare det,
investments are businesses that, in this context, that you don't live in. You buy it to make money.
så investeringer i den her kontekst, det er virksomheder, som du ikke bor i, du køber det for at tjene penge.
That's how I was defining investment.
Det er sådan, jeg vil definere investering.
I don't think it's wrong to buy a property as opposed to renting.
Jeg mener ikke, det er forkert at købe en ejendom i forhold til at leje den.
And the vow as it's written, which I am reasonably comfortable with, doesn't stop people living or choosing to live in the city if that suits them.
Og løftet, som jeg er ret komfortabel med, og som jeg læser det, så forhindrer det ikke folk i at bo i byen, hvis det er det, de ønsker. Hvis det er det, der passer dem.
That was your question?
Svarer det spørgsmål?
Everyone else? Okay, so I don't know if we're all in agreement, but we're all good on it.
Vi alle er enige om det.
So a while ago, I made a statement in a presentation
Så for noget tid siden, der lavede jeg kom med en udtalelse i en præsentation,
that said some of us have fallen off the narrow path into the wicked world below,
hvor jeg sagde, at nogle af os er faldet af den smalle sti ned til den fortabte verden
and we
forneden,
don't know it.
og vi ved det ikke.
I don't think I said much more than that,
Jeg tror ikke, jeg sagde meget mere end det.
except to perhaps say it's the Laodicean condition.
Udover måske at sige, at det er den laodikeiske tilstand.
So someone's asked a question on that in 3 parts.
Så nogen har stillet et tredelt spørgsmål til det.
Okay, so everybody understands the narrow path vision.
Okay, så alle forstår Ellen Whites,
We understand that it's erected high above the world and there's the wicked world below.
som er oprejst højt over verden, hvor at den syndige verden er forneden.
And if for any reason you fall back from the moving light,
Og hvis man af en eller anden grund falder fra eller falder tilbage fra det bevægende lys, eller progresserende lys,
which is the light of the midnight cry.
hvilket er midnatsråbets lys, eller lyset fra midnatsråbet.
By the way, that light and if people remember the parable, the model, how does that light work?
Jo,
What's it doing? Where is it?
jeg ved ikke, om folk de husker det fra lignelsen, men hvor er lyset, og hvad gør det?
Coming from heaven.
So it's from 2018, from the night light and shine light.
Don't want the year. The light is what?
Hvad er lyset?
Our message.
What message?
Ikke?
What message?
Midnight.
So the light is the midnight cry. It's the message midnight cry.
Så lyset er
And where is it?
om midnatsråbet. Og hvor er det?
I was just asking her.
First, and then
So it's traveling.
Så bevæger lyset sig.
no, it's just shine.
Where-
That's the one.
You don't know where it is.
Du ved ikke, hvor det er.
You don't know? No?
Ved du det ikke?
Okay, just want to okay. So you were saying
It's behind us. on the
you reach the midnight cry, and where is it?
Du er enige om, at det er
behind us, and
midnatsråbet.
it's giving light to the path.
Hvor er det?
So Melania says it's the light of the midnight cry, and it's behind the people. Yeah. You look worried.
No, I'm not worried.
Du er bekymret. Jeg er ikke bekymret.
Did I say your name wrong? Okay. Okay, so it's behind them.
Okay, så det er bag dem.
And how does it work?
Og hvordan virker det?
Shines our path, where we are going.
So I'll just try and draw. We're on a path,
Så har du forsøgt at tegne, så vi er på en sti.
and there's a light that comes from the midnight cry.
Og der er noget lys, som stammer fra midnatsråbet.
And show me what the light's doing, or where it is.
Fortæl mig, hvad
Shining
det
before our
betyder,
path.
eller hvor det er.
So it's like that.
Så det er sådan der.
Okay, so I just put the end. So the light is all along the path.
Okay, så jeg har bare skrevet ende på. Så lyser det
So
hele vejen.
Melanie says yes, the light's all along the path.
Melania, hun siger ja, det lyser hele vejen langs
So
stien.
if it's all along the path, can you be in darkness anywhere?
Så hvis det er hele vejen på stien, kan man så være i mørke nogle steder.
So you said no,
Hun siger nej.
which means you can't fall off the path.
Betyder det, at man ikke kan falde fra stien, ned fra
Okay,
stien?
so now I didn't hear what you said. You've got to speak loud and go ahead.
Keep your eyes
Så-
open.
Okay, so Melania says these people have shut their eyes.
Okay, Melania siger, at de folk, de har lukket deres øjne.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't say that in the story.
Yeah.
Jeg er ret sikker på, at det siger det, at historien ikke fortæller det, eller siger det.
So Melania says that she made that bit up.
Så Melania, hun siger, at det fandt hun selv på.
Okay, so there's something wrong with that model.
Så der er noget galt med den model.
Courtney.
Courtney.
It was referenced earlier that the light is actually moving forward, illuminating our path, and if used stagnant or stationary, that's when you lose sight of the road and you fall into the world.
So this picture's wrong. So the light is here.
Så lyset er her.
It's shining from behind, so not directly above.
Oh, not on top. So it is from behind,
Så lyset er bag dem.
and it swivels and it moves forward.
Yes, so
Og det bevæger sig fremad.
that's made it permanent in that spot. It's moving forward.
It's actually moving. So it's not behind you, it's with you.
Yeah, it is with us, but shining from behind forward.
Okay, so
Experience of the midnight cry, you've had to have come through it from and then pushing you forward, illuminating your path forward.
So Courtney is saying that this light moves. It's not stationary.
Så Courtney siger, at det lys, det bevæger sig, det er ikke stationært.
So he got that idea, or he said someone referenced it, which was Elder Manjit. Is what are you saying, Elder Manjit? This is wrong, or you want to have this like moving?
Yeah, it like swivels. I'm not sure on the detail. I always thought that the light moves forward. And the people follow. But there's also another reference, like Jesus at the other end also shines a light. So you've got lights from both ends. But I always saw the light from behind, not static, but moving, and you've got to move with it.
Okay, so the summary of all of this is we really are not sure how this parable even works.
Okay, så opsummeringen af alt det her, det er, at vi ved ikke engang helt, hvordan den her lignelse, den virker. Ja.
So people aren't sure. Sorry, what did my translator say? I'm sorry. So people here are not sure if the light is there and it just moves with the people.
Så folk ved ikke, om lyset er her, det bevæger sig med menneskerne.
They're not sure if the light actually moves.
De er ikke sikre på, at lyset reelt set bevæger sig.
And so if it moves, someone's saying there's a big difference between if it's here shining on them or if it's above them, because I don't see much difference between the two.
Folk siger, at der er forskel på, om lyset er lige bag dem og bevæger sig, eller ovenover dem. Jeg ser ikke selv en stor forskel.
Because to say that it says it's behind them,
For at sige, at det er bag dem,
I think people are using a prophetic license to say it's always just behind your back.
så tror jeg, at folk de bruger profetisk licens til at sige, at det er altid lige bag dig.
And then someone says there's another light,
Så er der nogle andre, der siger, at der er et andet lys,
which Jesus has.
som Jesus har.
And I think someone says that Jesus is here,
Og jeg tror, at nogen siger, at Jesus er her.
I guess shining another light on them.
Og jeg antager, at han lyser et andet lys på dem.
So I've just had my 2 pennies worth. I thought Jesus was actually in the group, walking with them.
Og det er mine egne tanker. Jeg troede altid, at Jesus han var i gruppen.
I could be wrong.
Men jeg kan tage fejl.
Okay, so to the questioner,
Okay, så til personen med spørgsmålet.
part of the problem about answering this question
Del af spørgsmålet, eller problemet med at besvare det her spørgsmål,
is that as a group,
det er, at som en gruppe,
we have failed
så er vi fejlet.
because we don't understand how a person actually falls into the world.
Vi forstår ikke, hvordan personen faktisk falder ned til verden.
Because the questioner legitimately wants to know, how does that happen?
For personen med spørgsmålet vil reelt set gerne vide, hvordan det sker.
Literally.
Hvordan det sker.
So if you want to know how it works literally, you need to know how it works parabolically.
Hvis man gerne vil vide, hvordan det sker bogstaveligt talt, så har man brug for at vide, hvordan det fungerer inden for en lignelseskontekst.
And one thing we're all agreed on
Og en ting, som vi alle er blev enige om,
is the way you fall off the path
det var, at måden, man falder fra stien, eller af fra stien,
is because you don't remain in the light.
det er, fordi man ikke vedbliver i lyset.
So you come into darkness and you lose your way and then you fall.
Så man kommer ind i mørke, man mister sin orientering og falder.
I've got people in my group looking worried and I'm not sure what we're worried about.
Jeg har folk i min gruppe her, der ser bekymret ud, og jeg er ikke sikker på, hvad det er, vi er bekymrede omkring.
Have I said something wrong or funny or?
Har jeg sagt noget forkert eller noget sjovt?
I was asking, so what is the conclusion now?
Okay, so the question is, what's the conclusion?
Okay, så spørgsmålet er, hvad er konklusionen?
And for me,
Og for mig,
I can't answer this question properly,
så kan jeg ikke besvare det her spørgsmål på en ordentlig måde,
which means I can't answer the question
hvilket betyder, at jeg kan ikke besvare spørgsmålet,
because we don't know how a person gets into darkness literally.
for vi ved bogstaveligt talt ikke, hvordan person kommer i mørke.
Literally means in that story.
Bogstaveligt talt mener i den her historie, betyder i den
So
her
if we, as a, I'm going to say as a movement, as a group, don't understand the mechanism of that light,
Så hvis vi som gruppe ikke forstår mekanismen af det lys,
we don't know how a person gets into darkness.
så ved vi ikke, hvordan en person ryger i mørke.
We know that the person falls behind in some shape or form.
Vi ved, at personen falder tilbage på en eller anden måde,
But I don't think we can give a definitive answer to it until someone does a good study on this to show how that light operates.
Jeg tror ikke, vi kan komme til et definitivt svar, før nogen laver et godt studie på, hvordan det lys, det fungerer.
If you tie it in with the narrow way vision, you might not do the full explanation, but you see that when the road was getting narrower, people were refusing to give up things. You know, they had to give up their horses and their luggage and stuff like that. And then that's at that point when they refused to give up something, let something go, then they would fall away.
So someone has said,
Så nogen har sagt,
if we don't understand this parable,
hvis ikke vi forstår den her lignelse,
let's go to another one.
så lad os gå til en anden.
What's the problem with that, Magda?
Hvad er problemet med det, Magda?
No problem then. Good
So-
strategy.
Det er en god
If you
strategi,
don't know what the problem is.
hvis ikke man ved, hvad problemet er.
Curtis?
Curtis?
You have to be able to use that first witness to answer what's happening in that story. You can't use something else to explain that.
So someone has said the problem with using that idea, which sounds good,
Er problemet med at bruge den idé, som lyder godt,
is dangerous,
det er farligt,
if not wrong,
hvis ikke forkert,
because using something to explain something that you don't know doesn't guarantee you the correct answer.
for at bruge noget andet til at forklare det, som man ikke forstår, kan få en til et forkert svar.
And the safe way to approach things
Og den sikre måde at tilgå det på,
is to understand your particular model or your story properly before moving on.
det er at forstå ens egen historie, den historie, man er i gang med ordentligt, før man går videre.
What mistake did FFA do continually? It became habitual.
Hvilken fejl lavede FFA kontinuerligt? Det blev en vanesag.
They broke a cardinal rule.
De begik en kardinal fejl. Kæmpe fejl.
How many models have we got here?
Hvor mange modeller har vi her?
2. So
2.
the number 2, what model is that?
Så nummer 2, hvilken model er det?
On the testimony of 2 a thing is established.
At det er 2.
And what they would do is have half-baked ideas of one testimony.
Og det, som de gjorde, det var, at de havde færdiggjorte idéer om én ting,
Then try to defend it with another testimony.
som de så forsøgte at forsvare med et andet vidnesbyrd.
And 2 halves don't make 2, they just make a mess.
Og 2 halve, det giver ikke 2, det giver bare et hver rod.
It's critical to follow the rules because otherwise we get into huge problems.
Det er kritisk at følge reglerne, for ellers kommer vi i store problemer.
Elder Magic?
In the context of the two parables though, the outcome is the same. When you refuse to move forward, you fall away into the world. And in this particular parable, when you go into darkness, you fall into the world. So it's not like taking two completely different parables and related. They're actually related stories.
So Elder Magic has said, because the conclusion is the same, you fall into the world below, they're
Så-
related stories.
Så Elder Manjit, han siger, at fordi at konklusionen den er den samme, man falder ned til jorden, så er det den samme historie.
So it's safe to do what he suggested.
Så det er sikkert at gøre det, som han foreslog.
Is that a reasonable representation? What's the problem with that, Curtis, you just said?
Og hvad er problemet med det, Curtis? Det er,
Well, one problem is that you might think that they're giving the same conclusions.
So Curtis says you might think they're giving the same conclusion. I want to suggest
så Curtis siger, at man kan få en ledig til at tro, at det giver den samme konklusion. Men det jeg gerne vil foreslå,
you might have a different end point,
man har muligvis et andet endepunkt, eller en
but
anden.
what's every story telling you?
Men hvad fortæller enhver historie der?
In inspiration in the Bible, every story tells you what?
Enhver historie i Bibelen eller inspirationen fortæller en hvad?
Not parable.
Ikke en lignelse.
We'll go with how to be saved. They're all stories about what?
Lad os sige, vi kan bare gå med, hvordan man bliver frelst. De er alle historier om hvad?
Salvation. The God, how do you know who the true God is?
Hvordan ved man, hvem den sande Gud er?
Because all the stories of the past point to what?
For alle fortidens historier peger på hvad?
Not just any future, one future, the end.
Ikke bare hvilken som helst fremtid, men enden.
So every story will take you to the same place,
Så enhver historie vil tage dig til samme sted,
which would infer that Adventism has to get their version of prophecy correct, and they've got it all wrong using that same methodology.
hvilket vil antyde, at adventismen vil få ret i deres konklusioner på profetierne, selvom de er helt forkert på den.
They do like a patchwork quilt. They take bits and pieces everywhere and try to get a story at the end of the world, and it doesn't work.
Det er ligesom et sammenlappet tæppe, hvor de tager nogle forskellige stykker hister her, og lapper dem sammen og får en komplet forståelse af verden. Det fungerer ikke.
Okay, so to the questioner, I apologize, but we've failed.
Okay, så til personens spørgsmål, og jeg beklager, men vi fejlede.
I can blame these people, not me.
Jeg
So
bebrejder.
the person asked a specific question. Is it a decision that we make?
Er det en beslutning, som vi har taget?
Everyone says yes there. Yeah, we can all say it's a decision that you made.
Ja, det er en beslutning, som man selv tager.
Next question. Will we ever realize it before it's too late?
Næste spørgsmål. Vil vi nogensinde opfatte det, før det er for sent?
So someone says you're going to die, you're not going to realize it.
Så nogen siger, at man vil dø, man vil ikke indse det.
Sometimes you might realize in time, and sometimes you might not.
Nogle gange vil man indse det i tide, og andre gange så vil man ikke.
Why do you say they might not realize it
Hvorfor
in
siger
time?
at de muligvis ikke vil indse det i tide?
So the alternative is they realise it before it's too late and then stay on path. Is that the alternative? I saw it as they're in darkness. They have no light. They don't realise what they're doing, and they just wander off and fall off. They have no light, so they can't see that they're wrong.
So Catherine has said, once they get into the darkness,
At når de kommer i mørket,
by that stage, it's too late.
på det stadie, så er det for sent.
And Mercy and Simba said,
Og Mercy og Simba sagde,
and Mercy,
og Mercy,
sometimes it's not too late.
nogle gange så er det ikke for sent.
1 second.
Et
Start
sekund.
again.
In terms you might know, in terms you cannot know, that we are going astray.
So let me ask Mercy a specific question. Are you in darkness
Det er et spørgsmål. Er du i
in
mørke,
this story?
den her historie?
Not you, I'm in the story. Is the person in darkness?
Ikke dig, men i historien er personen i mørke.
Yes or no?
Ja eller nej?
They're not in darkness.
De er ikke i mørke.
If you're not in darkness, there's no possibility of falling into the wicked world.
Hvis ikke man er i mørke, så er der ingen chance for at falde ned til den syndige verden for neden.
You've got to wait till my translator finishes because I can't hear you. Start again.
When you're walking in the light, you
We're not talking about the whole question is, I said there are people in the movement who have fallen into the wicked world below, and I say they don't know it. So the questioner asks some things before they fell. They didn't explicitly state the steps.
Så han forklarer bare spørgsmålet og præmissen for spørgsmålet.
We all know somehow or another, before you fall,
Jeg ved, at på en eller anden måde, før man falder,
you've come out of the light.
så er man kommet ud af det her lys.
So that's the question. That's the scenario.
Så det er scenariet.
So the person is not in the light.
Så personen er ikke i lyset.
If you're not in the light, is there any possibility for you?
Og hvis ikke han er i lyset, er der så nogen chance for en?
Now,
that is if you try to look for the light. Focus.
you're not in the light anymore. Now, is there any hope for you?
Man er ikke i
That's the
lyset mere,
question.
er der noget håb for en? Det er spørgsmålet.
Okay, so Mercy agrees now with Catherine.
Okay, så Mercy er nu enig med Catherine.
Simba?
Simba?
I think it all depends on the decision that he or she is going to make.
So Simba says it depends on the decision.
Yeah.
Simba siger, at det afhænger af beslutningen.
So the decision was to stop walking in the light.
Så beslutningen, det var jo at stoppe med at gå i lyset.
You can stop working in the light, but I think later on there are chances that someone might realize that I'm no longer working in the light, then he or she can come back.
So Simba says, you stopped walking in the light,
Så
then you
Simba,
realize you're not in the light and you run forward and catch up.
stop med at gå i lyset, så opdagede man, at man ikke var i lyset, og så løb man frem
I'll repeat in a second.
for at komme tilbage.
Can't run forward as such, but you'll be like going back from where you left.
There's no light behind you. The light has moved forward. You've stepped back.
So if that is the case, there's no change.
No.
We all agreed that the light moves forward and you
Yeah.
have to keep up with that light.
At lyset bevæger sig fremad.
The light doesn't go at your pace.
Lyset går ikke
The light
med.
goes at its own pace and you have to keep up with it.
Lyset har dets egen.
Agree with that?
Du
So if
skal-
you stop, the light's not going to wait for you.
Du stopper, så vil lyset ikke vente på dig.
Okay. So the summary of all of that is
Okay, så opsummeringen af alt det er,
the people are suggesting here that once you're in the darkness, it's too late.
folk foreslår her, at når man er i mørket, så er det for sent.
Unless somebody helps you.
Unless someone who's already in darkness helps you.
Men der
If
er
someone
nogen, der
pulls their hand up and drags you.
men nogen giver dig deres hånd og
So,
op.
All of you, I don't know.
okay, so it's not looking good, the summary.
Okay, så opsummeringen ser ikke godt
And
ud.
Elder Manjit's read the story now,
Og Elder Manjit har nu læst historien,
and he's going to correct us.
og han vil rette os.
So Elder Manjit's read the story, and he's going to give us the good picture now, the correct one.
Så Elder Manjit har nu læst historien, og vil give os det rigtige billede.
Give us the bullet points.
Giv os,
So with our path, the light moves forward, the light shines on the path.
Everybody agrees the light moves forward.
alle enige om, at lyset lyser foran.
If you stop,
You go into darkness because the light's gone ahead of you. The light stops shining behind you.
if you stop, the light is moving forward and you're now in darkness.
Hvis du stopper, så er lyset bevæget sig foran, og du er nu i mørke.
But also, Jesus is in front of us. And what he does when we get discouraged, he shines a light. And so you willfully have to reject that light to be in darkness.
So we agree that there's a second light,
Så vi er enige om, at der er et andet lys,
which is the light that Jesus holds, who's walking in front of us.
som er det lys, som Jesus holder, som går foran os.
Any other points, Elder Major?
Nogle andre pointer, eller men
Okay, so I want to summarize now
jeg vil gerne opsummere nu,
without proving this, because I'm not going to go word by word.
uden at bevise det, for jeg vil ikke gå ord med ord.
So I'm going to suggest the following.
Så jeg vil foreslå følgende.
1, waymarks don't move.
1. Vejmærker, de bevæger sig ikke.
And if this is the light of the midnight cry, it has to remain stationary.
Og hvis det er lyset af midnadsråbet, så skal det forblive stationært.
So it's fixed here,
Så det er fikseret her,
and somehow or another, the actual light is a narrow beam that moves forward.
og på en eller anden måde, så er det lys, det er en smal lyskejle, som bevæger sig foran.
Is that enough?
Er det nok?
You saying yes?
Yeah, agree with that, yeah.
It's not enough
Det er ikke nok.
Not enough.
because you need something else.
Man har brug for noget andet.
What will happen if you just had that light on its own?
Hvad ville der ske, hvis man kun havde det lys?
You would become,
Man vil blive,
you said the word,
du sagde ordet,
you become discouraged.
man vil blive modløs. Man vil
So now you need another light,
så jeg har brug for et andet lys.
and that one is definitely shining in front of you,
Og det lys, det skinner
down.
helt sikkert foran dem og ned.
And that's the light that Jesus is holding or has somehow.
Og det er det lys, som Jesus han holder, eller på en eller anden måde har.
And is that light moving?
Og bevæger det lys sig.
So this light moves,
Så hvis det,
and this light remains stationary.
og det her lys forbliver stationært,
And it's the combination of the two lights that keeps you safe.
og det er kombinationen af de her to lys, der gør dig safe.
So if that's a fixed point in time,
Hvis
which
det
I'm
er,
saying it is,
det er et fikseret punkt i tid, som jeg siger, det er,
because it's the midnight cry and that doesn't change,
det er midnadsråbet, og det ændrer sig ikke.
doesn't move,
Det ændrer sig ikke. Det bevæger sig ikke.
what does this represent?
Hvad repræsenterer det her?
This light that moves.
Det her lys, som bevæger sig.
Okay? A progressive light or a progressive unfolding of truth.
En progressiv udfoldelse af lyset.
Will you agree, Nemma, or disagree? Okay, so we agree it's a progressive revelation of light. You need both.
Okay, så vi er enige om, at det er en progressiv åbenbaring af lys. Man har brug for begge.
So we've redeemed ourselves.
Så vi har frelst os selv.
Is it a decision we make to stay still?
Er det vores beslutning om at stå stille? Er det en beslutning, vi selv
Yes,
tager?
because you can't use what excuse?
Ja, for man kan ikke bruge hvilken undskyldning.
We can't use no light, you said.
Someone held you back. You can't blame someone else for you stopping.
Anyone else? You can't blame your experience
Man kan ikke bebrejde sin erfaring,
because you have not only the midnight cry light, but you have a present day, I'm going to call it message or truth or light.
for man har ikke bare midnatsråbets budskab, men man har også en sandhed, den aktuelle dag.
So the combination of those two lights strips all your excuses away.
Så kombinationen af de to lys, de fjerner enhver undskyldning, man måtte have.
So it is a decision that we make.
Så det er en beslutning, som vi tager og laver.
Then the second question is,
Så er andet spørgsmål.
once we realize it,
Når vi indser det,
is it then too late?
er det så for sent?
And I think we've said yes.
Og jeg tror, vi har sagt ja.
You stand still and you get into darkness,
Hvis man står stille, man kommer i mørke,
you're done for.
så er man færdig.
Done for means lost.
Så er man fortabt.
If someone can give just the chapter, the chapter title from early writings that talks about this similar experience.
Er der nogen, der kan give kapiteltitlen for historien i Early Writings?
There's the first reading.
What is it?
One testimony's page.
Oh, it's not early writings. Okay.
Yeah, 58. It's the same story. it's
Oh,
the
okay.
same vision. Yeah, one testimony is page 58.
This is the title.
My first vision.
So in early writings, there's a chapter called My First Vision,
Så i Early Writings er der et kapitel, der hedder mit første syn,
where she says there were people, some of God's people that got into darkness and were never seen again.
hvor hun siger, at der er folk, som kom i mørke, som aldrig blev set igen.
So I think that's a fair reading of that story.
Jeg vil mene, at det er en fair læsning af den
I don't want this to happen to me, says the questioner.
person med spørgsmålet siger, jeg vil ønske ikke, at det her sker for mig.
Can you advise?
Kan du rådgive?
What advice can we offer?
Hvilke råd kan vi give?
Sorry? You have to keep up with the light.
Man er nødt til at følge med lyset,
It's going to be continued.
Because the light's going to be continuous and you have to just keep up with it.
og lyset vil være kontinuerligt, og man er bare nødt til at følge med.
And it takes effort to do that.
Og det kræver energi at gøre
And
det.
remember that this light is traveling at its own pace.
Husk, at det her lys, det bevæger sig med dets egen hastighed.
It leads us, we don't lead the light.
Det fører os, vi fører ikke lyset. Og det leder os, vi leder ikke lyset.
So it's a pretty grim reality.
Så det er en ret grim realitet.
To me, the hope is that the questioner says, I don't want this to happen to me, in which case it's unlikely that you're in this situation.
Personen, der stiller spørgsmålet og siger, at jeg ønsker ikke, at det sker for mig, tyder på, at personen er i lyset.
Also, it seems very clear that Jesus does all he can for you. In other words, it's hard for you to be in the darkness. To be in the darkness is very willful decision making because he's doing all he can to keep you in the light. And I think that's important to bring out. That's the kind of God we serve.
That takes like effort. You've got to make an effort as well.
Okay, so there was some internal discussion which was useful, but I'm not going to put it into the Zoom.
Kan det være noget internt?
I want to move on to another question.
Fortæl det. Jeg vil gå videre til næste spørgsmål.
This is for Catherine.
Det er til Catherine.
I apologize. They should have just sent you the message. I don't know why they didn't.
Undskyld, de burde bare sende spørgsmål.
They should have sent her the message directly, but they sent them to me. So Catherine mentioned Michael Moore.
Så Catherine, hun nævnte Michael Moore.
It's Michael, yeah. And the questioner says this.
Og personen med spørgsmålet siger dette. Selvfølgelig.
Catherine pointed out the difference between Moore's message and our message.
Catherine pointerede forskellen på Moores budskab og vores.
And she said it's about geography.
Og hun sagde, at det handler om geografi.
And the questioner says, I'm not sure why she said that.
Og personen med spørgsmålet siger, jeg er ikke sikker på, hvorfor hun sagde det. Og hvorfor han sagde det.
So there's a comparison between Moore and us.
Så der er en sammenligning med Moore og os.
And Catherine said that it's about geography.
Og Catherine sagde, at det handler om geografi.
The person doesn't understand that.
Personen forstår ikke det.
They then go on to say that they do understand the following.
Så siger de dog, at de forstår følgende.
I understand we hold to requirements that they don't.
Jeg forstår, at vi holder os til nogle krav, som de ikke gør.
They meaning more.
Og med dem, så mener vedkommende Moore.
Which are the reforms and the vows.
Hvilket er reformerne og dåbsløfterne.
But I'm thinking that the geography ultimately is the same.
Men jeg tænker, at geografien i sidste ende er den samme.
More presents a utopia on earth, and so do we.
Moore præsenterer en utopi på jorden, og det samme gør vi.
Because we know that heaven is going to be on earth.
For vi ved, at himlen kommer til at være på jorden.
So it's the same geography.
Så det er den samme geografi.
So what point is Catherine making?
Så hvilken pointe laver Catherine?
Where the government is located.
So Catherine says it's where the government is located.
Så Catherine siger, at det er, hvor regeringen er.
More with proposing earthly government and government.
So Moore presents a model that has earthly or human government.
Så Moore præsenterer en model, som har verdslig regering.
And our model has God in charge.
And our model has God in charge running the government.
Og vores model har Gud som regering.
So I'm going to try to respond on the person's behalf.
Så jeg vil prøve at svare på personens vegne.
You said the difference is politics.
Du sagde, at forskellen er politik
Now,
nu.
But before you said the difference is geography.
Men før sagde du, at forskellen var geografi.
God is in heaven. God is in heaven.
So she says God is in heaven.
Og hun siger, Gud er i himlen.
I'm going to represent the questioner in the temple.
I templet.
Where's the government housed?
Hvor befinder regeringen sig?
You don't know?
Ved du ikke?
Someone knows?
Nogen, der ved
Where's
det?
the government housed in heaven?
Hvor befinder regeringen sig i himlen?
Can I just say the temple or the sanctuary?
Kan jeg bare sige templet, helligdommen?
What happens to the sanctuary or the temple?
Hvad sker der med templet eller helligdommen?
At the end of the 1,000 years, it comes down to earth.
I afslutningen på de 1000 år, så kommer det ned
So
i jorden.
whoever's running the government's here on earth.
Så hvem end der styrer regeringen, så er regeringen her på jorden.
After 1,000 years.
Sorry,
After 1,000.
did I say that? I think after 1,000 years, the
1000 år.
government's. So you haven't answered this question.
Så du ikke besvarer spørgsmålet.
So Catherine still disagrees with you, but she hasn't explained it yet.
Så Catherine er stadig uenig med dig, men har ikke forklaret dig.
Anyone?
It's got to do with having a relationship with God.
So I'm going to answer. Well, I'm not even going to get that translated. Having a relationship with God has got nothing to do with geography. You said geography is different, and this person says, hold on, they're both on earth. Emma. So, anyone else? I know.
So, I mean, first, the government is in heaven before the 1,000 years. Isn't it we're going to heaven, then come back after 1,000 years?
So everybody's giving dodgy answers here.
Så alle
Not doggy, wrong answers.
svar her.
Wrong in the definition of wrong is the ones that I don't like.
Definitionen er forkert af dem, som jeg ikke kan lide.
So
Så
I'm going to give them another opportunity.
jeg vil give dem endnu en mulighed.
You don't see a flaw in his argument.
Kan I
Their
ikke,
argument, their argument.
kan I ikke se en fejl i deres argument?
You're right. Their argument is that Michael Moore presents a utopia on Earth.
Not worried about utopia, we're worried about geography, location.
Vi er ikke bekymret om utopi, vi er bekymret om
Yes.
geografi.
Moore's is on earth, and so is ours. And Catherine
Moore
says,
er på jorden,
yeah, you
og
got a
så-
point.
Og kan
You're going to translate that?
man pointe?
Okay.
I don't know if it's the same thing. It might be another dodgy argument. Is that if the Earth is replaced, does it still remain the same thing that it was before? If it's a new thing.
Okay, so we've got a response now that says the Earth is going to get replaced, therefore it's not the same Earth.
Så vi har et argument nu, det er, at jorden vil blive erstattet, så er det ikke den samme jord.
I was going to say, is it time? Because we're talking about now.
About geography, not time.
Right now, the geography is different.
We're not in heaven now,
No,
and there's no utopia on Earth now, so they're both in the future.
true.
Okay, so we've got something that we can hold on to now. So we've been deceived by this questioner.
Så vi er blevet ført i mørket af det her spørgsmål.
Because they know as well as we do,
For de ved så vel som vi,
the geography that Moore preaches
at geografien, som Moore prædiker,
is this Earth,
er denne jord,
and the geography that we teach
og geografien, som vi lærer,
is a different Earth.
er en anden jord.
And the fact that the coordinates in space are at the same point or the same place is irrelevant.
Og det faktum, at koordinaterne er ens i rum og tid, det er irrelevant.
Let me see if I can find a verse for that.
Lad mig se, om jeg kan finde et bibelvers for det.
Yeah, Revelation chapter 21.
Ja, åbenbaring kapitel 21.
It says what?
Siger hvad?
Without looking.
Uden at kigge.
I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away. It's not.
Og jeg så en ny himmel og en ny jord til den forrige himmel, og den forrige jord var ved bort.
It's not the same geography at all.
Det er slet ikke den samme geografi.
Oh, you quoted that verse? I didn't hear you.
Når du citerede det vers, jeg hørte dig ikke.
Yeah, I agreed with that.
Ja, jeg er enig med det.
It's dodgy when you say. Okay, so we've answered the question.
Okay, så vi har besvaret spørgsmålet.
It was a trick question
Det var et snydespørgsmål.
because I say that in a sensible way, that we have to be careful about what these models are teaching.
Vi er nødt til at være forsigtige med, hvad de her modeller, de lærer os.
What, if you remember, Catherine spoke about politics,
Det som Catherine talte om politik,
and when I said, "Oh, you can't do that because it's politics and not geography,"
og da jeg sagde, at det kan du gøre, det er geografi og ikke politik,
she didn't do what Emma did,
så gjorde hun ikke det, som Emma hun gjorde,
which is to object.
hvilket var at
We'll go with Daniel 2.
række hånden op, så at sige. Lad os gå begå os med
What's
det.
the framework of Daniel 2?
Hvad er strukturen i Daniel 2?
Catherine, is it geography or politics?
Catherine, er det geografi eller politik?
Politics. It says the kingdoms of
Politik, der står,
this world are going to be, what's going to happen to them?
den her
So the
verden
kingdoms of this world are going to be
Yeah.
replaced by the
Okay,
kingdom of
settled.
God.
er Guds rige.
Because built into the model of Daniel 2
Fordi bygget ind i modellen i Daniel 2,
is the idea that when those governments get replaced,
er ideen om, at når de regeringer bliver erstattet,
the human government to God's government,
så vil Guds regering,
it goes from,
regering
if we call it the old world or this earth, to the new world, the new earth.
så går den fra den gamle jord til den nye jord.
Yes, from the old earth to the new earth.
Ja, fra den gamle jord til den nye jord.
So the idea of connecting politics with geography is a correct model.
Så ideen om at forbinde politik med geografi er en rigtig model.
So I hope between us we've been able to answer this question.
Så jeg håber, at imellem os selv, så har vi været i stand til at besvare det her spørgsmål.
And Emma gave a good answer and I said it was a bad one and I was wrong.
Og Emma gav et godt svar, jeg sagde, det var et dårligt svar, men jeg tog fejl.
Okay, so that's all of our questions and we've run out of time.
Okay, så det var alle vores spørgsmål, og vi løb tør, vi løb ud.
And I want to thank everybody for joining us.
Jeg vil gerne takke alle for at deltage.
And as we, if I can put it this way, increasingly have face-to-face meetings,
Og som vi i højere grad har fysiske møder,
I really want to try to encourage people to attend if possible.
så vil jeg virkelig anbefale folk at deltage, hvis det er muligt.
We've had 5 formal meetings this weekend here.
Vi har haft 5 formelle møder, eller undervisningsgange.
And we've had at least 5 informal meetings off screen.
Vi har haft mindst 5 uformelle møder uden skærm.
And I think most people enjoy those ones more than these ones.
Og jeg tror, at folk nyder dem mere end de her.
I want to thank you everybody for attending. I want to thank the ministry for facilitating this.
Jeg vil gerne takke alle for deltagelsen, for menigheden, som har faciliteret det her.
Let's close with prayer.
Lad os afslutte med bøn.
Holy God, we want to thank you
Hellige Gud, vi ønsker at takke dig
for your grace and mercy in choosing us.
for din nåde og din nåde i at vælge os.
As we discuss over and over again the light of the midnight cry,
Som vi diskuterer lyset fra midnatsråbets budskab om og om igen.
the progressive nature of truth and its unfolding,
Sandhedens progresserende natur og hvordan den udfolder sig.
we realize that there is no reason for anybody to be lost.
Så indser vi, at der ikke er nogen grund til, at nogen skulle blive fortabt.
May each of us renew our vows with you today.
Må hver enkelt af os forny vores løfter med dig i dag.
May we recommit ourselves to you today.
Må vi hengive os til dig på ny i dag.
And may our faith after this camp meeting be stronger
Må vores tro efter den her weekend være stærkere.
because of the truths that we have discussed
På grund af sandhederne, som vi har diskuteret.
and the joy that we've had in coming together.
Og glæden, vi har haft ved at samles.
We ask that you would bless us
Vi beder, at du må velsigne os.
and accept our thankful praise.
Og acceptere vores taknemmelige
In Jesus' name, amen.
i Jesu navn. Amen.